What's going on, folks? All right. Back again. Had to work on a few different items. That's why I got the college shirt on. But now, yes, SandCity Sports in the building. A little bit later on the East Coast. Decent on the left coast. You know where we are going to begin and most likely end. The thriller in the Windy City. Goodness gracious. Do you credit the Bears? No, it's difficult for the Packers fans out there right now. But we shall discuss. Let's get everything in order. Don't make no excuses. And let's check to make sure we're where we need to be. Okay, this guy's coming over here. Not liking this. All right, very good. Good. Platforms are all set. And we're ready to rock and roll. Let's go here. All right. A couple people in the chat already. I appreciate that. And hey, welcome. Like I said, we had to take care of some other business, which is done. And now SandCity Sports ready to rock and roll and get into this episode. Hope you guys out there are doing well in television. I'm hanging in there here on the Cape, doing what I can do. Let's get it going. Welcome to SandCity Sports. To the business. I am your host. Bring it back. What did they say? SandCity. Go. And gobbled them up. Gobbled them right on up. Sprinted to the finish and won that ball game. Hey, I know what Big Ben says. You're starting to lose his locker room, and he understands his business. Most definitely. I got to take a look. We're gonna have to start with the Chicago Bears on this one. We're gonna have to start in Chi-Town, as far as I'm concerned, because hey, changing of the tide, crossing of the guard. What's going on, Chris? We're in the building. SandCity Sports, doing it. Realize your team, Rams, they were pushed to the limits. We'll get there. But we have to look at the Bears. We gotta look at the Bears and the Packers first. So that's where we'll begin. All right, let's get our screen set up over here. See where we need to be. Do I have to go in? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We ready to go. We're ready to go on this topic, folks. Let's lock in. We're talking Chi-Town. You understand? As the Mac man would say, the late great Bernie Mac, we talking my town. You heard me? Mac man say no other way. No other way. Okay? We talking Chi-Town. Also known, it's not my town. This is the Mac man, Bernie Mac. All right? No other way. How the Bears came back from 18 at the half. Put 25 points on them in a quarter to conclude the game. What are we doing? Are we giving? Is it Johnson? Is it Caleb Williams? Right? In the Commonwealth, we're familiar with this. Not to put the Bears in the same breath as a dynasty, right? But was it Belichick? Was it Brady? I mean, the conversation was endless. That conversation's actually been decided in the years that have gone past. But look, for me, watching this game, hey, Packers, they had them. Now, I'm saying to myself, as the Bears are sputtering, right? Caleb throwing that bad interception. Have we forgotten that? As they were driving in the end zone, right? Then we got what are you putting? Canola oil on your hands, right? All the jambalayas, right? All the Caleb snark, the subliminals, the disrespect, huh? For Mr. Williams, Lil Wayne is not happy right now. Talking about how we let somebody with purple fingernails go ahead and beat us. I feel for the people in Wisconsin. I do. Right? But the bottom line is this: Caleb Williams been balling this year. We're not talking about yesteryear. We're talking about this year. Okay? Hey, I'm on the record. We go back to the formative years, the college years. I'm team, right? You can check the receipts, folks. You can check the receipts. I was team Drake May last year during that troublesome year in the Commonwealth. And I tell people, why team Drake May? Because, hey, I'm a basketball guy, but I follow football. And what were they saying when these two stars to be, one at USC, one at UNC, were in college, said these two guys are special. And then Jaden Daniels got things going his senior year, won the Heisman, and he, kind of leapfrogged Drake May. But what we see now is all three are special. All three are special. Right? It depends on who your sensei is sometimes. Sometimes you need Master Splinter. And only Master Splinter. Right? We're going to have to get the last dragon up here. Sometimes you need that Sumdum Goy. You need that Sumdum Goy. You need the right sensei to get through to you so you can have your breakthrough. Shout out to the last dragon. Shout out to Bruce Leroy. 40-year anniversary. I might be getting older, but hey, it is what it is. It's a beautiful thing. You understand? No doubt. Okay? Right? These second-year guys, and I have forgot about Bo Nix. That's good right there. That's a good get. That are serious come up. All right, now with Bo, right, this is his second year with Peyton. So they had the rocky year, and then now, hey, they're top of the conference. Ain't mad at him. But Caleb Williams, and frankly, right, it's the same thing here in the Commonwealth. It's exact same thing. In terms of, right, new sensei, new sheriff. Now, both teams added some pieces, right? Bears added people, but we don't know. You add pieces and, to a dysfunctional situation or organization, you don't know what you're going to get, right? Teams have added pieces. Charles Barkley and Scottie Pippen took their talents to Houston. What did they do? Nothing. Zero. right? Scottie Pippen, Steve Smith, Damon Stoudemire. We're talking about that 2000 Portland Trailblazers team. Had the Lakers on the ropes. We don't know if it's gonna all gel together. Right, but it has. Right, and that's easy to say, right? Hindsight is 2020. We can see. By the way, that was an interesting handshake between Ben Johnson and Matt LaFleur. Ben Johnson kind of just breezed him. Like, it wasn't a handshake. It was just like gone. So it looked like that. All right, Ben Johnson, I feel your energy, and you're living it up, and you're letting, right? Gets knocked over on the sideline, after the win, and he's just got the charisma, shirt off, flexing on them at the same time. All that is good and well. You got to do a better job on your handshake, period. I don't care if you don't like it. Obviously, a lot of these guys don't like each other. Matt LaFleur, right? Pat Riley said there's only two things in sports: is winning and misery. So folks know, right? When Tom Izzo, I'm quoting right now. What do you say? The highs are really high, the lows are really low. So as much as Ben Johnson right now is on a high, well, you better where James Cameron at? Where's the Challenger Deep at? Huh? James Cameron took that Challenger Deep into the Marianas Trench, the deep ocean. Right? 5, 6, 7 miles down. Okay. And Matt LaFleur, that's he might not be in Marianas Trench, but he's on his way. He's on his way. He's going super duper low. Okay. And in terms of that hand, Matt LaFleur, right? He's heading to the lowest of the low. He walked forward, looked Ben Johnson in his face, had his hand out. So I don't like that, especially when you win. A lot of times it's the loser, that's the losing coach that's just going to give you the floppy fish and just bounce. Okay? That's where we really see what you about. Honestly. I don't think right. Anybody when you're flying high can hide when you're the toast of the town, you know what I mean? But that's not what we see what you're really made of. We see what you're really made of on the other side of that equation, where Matt LaFleur is, when you're headed to the lowest of the low. So Ben Johnson, do better with your handshakes. Period. Happy for you, but no. You don't just dap somebody up and hook a left. Didn't even look the man in the eye. He just boom, gone. No. That's one. That's where keeping it real goes wrong. Everything else is good, but you right. That's a little bit too much art, not enough science. Get the science right. You're the coach. Good, and you can be rah-rah and karate kicking people and doing triple backflips when you win a game like this. Because the wind is at your back. You're invincible almost. Okay, how do you? Right, because you're going to be on the other side of the equation at some point. Right, nobody's on top. Right, nothing lasts forever. So get ready, Mr. And I'm not raining on anybody's parade. This is huge for the city of Chicago. All right, with the mayor that I rock with. Shout out to Mayor Brandon Johnson. All right. I'm not gonna dive too deep into politics. He might not be your cup of tea. You know what I mean? And those, right? You can jump in, right? If you right. But I'm gonna put that out there. I rock with the mayor. You can tell me who you rock with, and it doesn't have to be who I rock with. That's fine. Again, we're not gonna dive too deep into the politics, but you watch the show, you know that your boy here got a lot of respect, a lot of love for Chi-Town, for Chi-City, okay? Especially coming from the Hoop Dreams tradition, what Hoop Dreams did for the city and the country as a classic documentary film. All right, preach, Chris. Right? Love and respect. Because they had the buzzsaws ready for him. They had this Bear situation. It hasn't looked good for some time, frankly. Different, but similar to the Patriots, because they don't have the dining, but Patriots had been down for 4 years, Bears probably longer. And then you draft Caleb Williams, right, to your point. And the first year he's supposed to be the chosen one, and it wasn't looking good. And a lot of people, right, talk about they were mentioning him in the same breath as, right, not a Jamarcus Russell, but forget the talented quarterback from Kentucky that went number one. There's you just take your pick. Number one quarterbacks that it didn't, right, and then he's always like Caleb Williams. Look, it's a beautiful thing to see this young man be able to do his art the way he does his art. Because that interception in the red zone was absolutely awful. It's just ridiculous. Right? So you see, he's on a different wavelength in terms of, right, he has that young Patty Mahomes gunslinger, different, that interception was just awful. Like he threw it, Tim. Facts. Chris over here, man. Right. This is facts. This is facts you got right now. Okay. Right. Obviously, he's not a Jamarcus Russell. He's not this He-Man, Superman, just physical specimen, right? Guy that has he has functional strength, but he doesn't have physical strength, meaning muscle on muscle. But he's an athlete. Like a 5-tool player type. But the point of fact is he's also like a different dude. Drake May here in the Commonwealth is your just straight-laced, friendly. I happen to see, he does all these kind of charitable works, which a lot of these guys do. I just happen to see one of the charitable clips that Drake May did, just kind of giving a shout out to, young person that's going through real challenges in their life. But that's like Drake May's whole, he's just, and I'm not putting him next to arguably the greatest of all time, Tom Brady, but Tom Brady, well done is better than well said. Like, think about Tom Brady before Gisele, right? Now, Tom Brady, he's a guy, toast of the town, all that stuff. He likes to go out and do what he's doing, yada, yada, yada. Okay. But before Gisele, he's still that backup quarter, guy that used to be Drew Brees' backup, unheralded quarterback out of Michigan, just a grinder, who grinded his way all the way to, being arguably the greatest player of all time. But the point is, Drake May has a low-key, off-the-field persona, and Caleb Williams, he got to be in the video. You got to. Okay, going over to college. I see what you're saying. And that was something, that was taking place as the game was going on. I was locked in, on the Odd Couple. It's referee season, so it's a beautiful thing. We're very busy. I was up in Braintree yesterday. Good, hard-nosed game, greater metropolitan kids, if high school guys, but just hard-nosed, solid basketball. And so I'm listening to the Odd Couple, and then just as the game is going on. But Chris, to your point, one of the things I learned in prep school sticks with me to this day. If its and buts were candy and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas. If its and buts were candy and nuts, we would all have a Merry Christmas. So, Mr. Moore, you were on the wrong side of a shellacking. And so it is what it is. Right? I think this is what we're talking about right now with the Caleb Williams and the Drake Mays of the world. And you can throw Jaden Daniels in there as well. Right? Because the Commanders fell off this year because they had, for a number of reasons, they fell off. But I think part of it, which the conversation we're going to be having next year in New England, is the schedule got beefed up. So you weren't sneaking up on teams. Right? You're not this upstart team. You're a team with expectations. and the Commanders had a fallback year. The Bears come into this year with no expectations and a lot of pressure, to your point about Ryan Poles and Kevin Warren handling their business. Okay. I think about Ozzie Newsome, in Baltimore. Okay. General managers of color, right? Put that out there. Say, oh, well, I know, I recognize, where you go and, you pick the best available coaches, and NFL has, you have the Rooney Rule and just a number of talented African-American coaches. So that kind of push and pull of, guys getting opportunity, guys not getting opportunity, that's a whole, but when I do, like, here's my thing with that point that, great point that Chris brings up about, I got to put this on the screen one more time, right? And we'll bring it right back to the Caleb Williams topic. The thing for me is, I don't, right? So Gerard Mayo he's one and done, right? He won and done, and he shouldn't have won the last game. We've forgotten about that. They got this kid, Will Campbell, who's a monster, and it kind of worked out. I'm a Travis Hunter guy, okay, and they weren't going to take the quarterback in Ward because they already have a quarterback, but you still could have got the number one pick. So, and what you could have, right? You get the number one pick, then you can leverage that and still get Will Campbell, and then maybe some other picks off that number one pick. So you shouldn't have won that game under any circumstances, and even however much never mind however toxic the situation in New England was, and it was certainly it was some Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle level toxicity, okay, which was very unfortunate because Robert Kraft put his money where his mouth is, gave Gerard Mayo the opportunity, and had the succession plan, and it just didn't work for whatever reason. Okay, could Gerard Mayo have been a little bit more diplomatic? Maybe. Could there's a lot of things that would have, could have, should, and it didn't happen. Right. And by the way, nobody's a racist because he got fired after 1 year. Well, we ain't going down that road. This is not systemic in my view. Last year, it was just a disaster. And as we've seen this year during the coaching carousel, anybody can get the smoke. All right. Pete Carroll, Super Bowl, gone. Right. We got smoke. Take your money and get the stepping. That's the thing. It's hard to feel bad for folks because they're getting all their money just to sit at the Copa. You're getting all your money, get out. Right? It's got to, the way that teams and these situations is crazy to me. Sidebar. Don't even get me started on college. These coaches and these buyouts. Right? But what am I saying, and what's the connection back to Caleb Williams? The great point, and it is a great point that Chris brings up. It's that, in terms of the coach, like the retreads and just getting opportunity after, certain coaches, they, I don't see, correct me if I'm wrong, like black coaches, okay, this didn't work out, but end up somewhere else. Right? A Frank Reich, it doesn't work out in Indianapolis, decent coach, but come on down and coach the Panthers. We got something for you. Okay, that doesn't work out here. You get another job over here. Right? How many head coaching jobs has Josh McDaniels got? The Broncos, train wreck. Then, Indianapolis tried to come get him. He was with the Broncos. Indy tried to get him. They brought him back. Then he got another job with the Raiders. You have to do, sometimes you got to do some apprenticeships. You got to go back and be an OC or a DC for a couple of years, but then you get another shot. Brian Flores still hasn't gotten a shot. He did sue the NFL, but he hasn't, that's, now again, you sue, how you expect it, you sue a billionaire, then you want a job from a billionaire. Okay. You can say that. But that's exactly, I think, the point that Chris is making. Well, I'm not going to speak for him, I'm speaking for myself. And he speaks for me, I speak for myself. It's that, how angry do you have to be to sue the most profitable sports league in the country by far. And is that anger justified? Is it justified? All right. You know, Steve Wilkes, 1 season in Arizona. All right, adios. Steve Wilkes, Matt Rule flames out. He gets Carolina trending in the right direction. No, you can't be the coach still. Right? Right. Show me the black coach that's on the coaching carousel that just keeps getting opportunities. Tony Dungy, but Tony Dungy's different because he had those long stints. And maybe Tony Dungy could, like Jim Caldwell's a perfect example of what I'm trying to say here. Why didn't Jim Caldwell get another opportunity after the Lions wrongly got rid of him? Why isn't Jim Caldwell still coaching in the NFL? That's my summation, case in point right there. In terms of why it's important to say Ryan Poles, Kevin Warren, black general managers getting the job done. Why the heck is Jim Caldwell not a head coach in the NFL right now today? Okay? Shouldn't have got fired from the Lions job. Right? Why doesn't the team come knocking on his door? The same way teams are knocking on Jim Harbaugh's door. Like, we need you. Come through. We got this job. Like, you know what I mean? Like, don't even Harbaugh. I'm not interviewing. I ain't interviewing. You come to see me. You come to see the Don. Kiss the ring and maybe I'll work with you. That's how it's going down, period. Yeah. Okay. Right? We think. But what? Like, it's just I'm not seeing it. I'm seeing, Brian Flores taking a lot of just the angst, the rage and frustration that's kind of behind this. Because football people, whoever's out there, I know it's late on the East Coast, but it is what it is. NFL playoffs, since it's going down for the DJ Crown tonight. We East Coast, we gonna be here. How long do we need to be here? Into the wee hours. Get that power nap, and then battle through another day. It's a beautiful thing, right? Flores, Vance Joseph, another opportunity. All right, respect. But I need some football people to tell me why Jim Caldwell didn't get another opportunity. And what do they say? If fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. If he can't get another opportunity, and there's no comp that I can think of, might not be the opportunities that's out there. Then you can have the further conversation about ownership. And you can't, there's only going to be one Rooney family. So, have the conversation about a guy like LeBron James wanting to own an NFL team. If LeBron James was an NFL owner, this would not be, right? I'm going to confidently say that. All right, point taken. Now, and this is yeah, okay. How do I want to? And then this is one. I'm not. Right. And that's a solid point. You hear that offensive league, kind of so on and forth. The whole Brian, Flores, Mike McDaniel situation. How do I want to say this? Are black coaches just not getting those jobs? Because if you can be a good head coach, I mean, I don't know how to, I see what you're saying. That it's all these young offensive gurus, boy geniuses that are getting these head coaching jobs and having success, right? Sean McVay, former college player, former quarterback, right? Matt LaFleur, Ben Johnson. Um, you know, fine. What I'm saying is, where are those, offensive? What am I saying? Clearly, where are the Marcus Freemans in the NFL on the offensive side of the ball? Because to your point, a lot of and again, that's another. You make a great point, Chris. But at the same time, doggone, arguably the greatest football coach of all time is coming from the defensive side of the ball, right? Bill Parcells, Big Bill, the tuna, is coming from the defensive side of the ball. So that's another thing that yeah, the Wiz, so why can't it be a Dan Quinn situation with the Commanders? Right? Dan Quinn, defensive guy. We gonna heat you up. People rave about Dan Quinn. About what he, how he just got. Let's go. The same way that I rock with your boy Dan Campbell, a dude out there biting kneecaps off. Let's freaking go. I'm gonna play for that dude. Let's go. Right? These are not offensive boy genius gurus. Mike Vrabel is not an offensive guy. He's a leader of men that knows how to pick a good offensive guy, i.e. Josh McDaniels, and let's go. So I see the point that you're making, Chris, and, but that just, again, this seems to be moving the goalpost. Well, you got, doggone it, it is what it is. You have, whatever that, it just, you got guys, Harbaugh, obviously he's a quarterback, knows offense, ground and pound, but a Harbaugh is more, and I'm talking about, I get the Harbaugh's confused. I'm talking about John, who's coming to the Commonwealth, who's in the Commonwealth right now. He knows, he's a quarterback, so he obviously knows offense and can, but he doesn't strike me as like an Andy Reid. He strikes me more as like, I know offense, I know what we need to do, but he's not like creating, and correct me if I'm wrong on Harbaugh. I get the Harbaugh's confused, but this is John. I gotta look this up. Make sure. Get this right. People. John is happening Chris Richard. Get my Harbaughs right. Shouldn't. No. John's the Ravens coach. Jim is the Chargers coach. I'm always getting them confused. My bad, folks. My bad. Right? Chris Richards. Yeah, it's a lot of, what happened to, or, right? Eric Bieniemy, you could say. Now, again, people, well, he's the offensive coordinator, but he doesn't call plays, that Andy Reid. Okay, I get that. Or, he had stuff in his background. Fine. It's just not, sometimes the math ain't mathing. And this is not a. We're gonna get back to Ben Johnson, and Caleb. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not trying to create smoke or create tension or make people have to. I'm just making a point that never mind the coaches in waiting. Fine, you got all these coaches in waiting. I'm just saying, where are the or like, of all these coaches in waiting, there has to be coaches of color on the offensive side of the ball that are doing dynamic things to get those OC jobs, right? But I don't know where the heck they are. To Chris's point and to a good point, in the NFL, right? Okay, let's come back to this situation. That's like because again, I'm just thinking to myself, Marcus Freeman, and I know he's a college coach. And the discussion, it's twofold. A, where are these coaches, of color and just in general, like who are the hot young boy genius coordinators? We know a lot of them because they end up getting opportunities. And then you don't have to be the hot offensive coordinator. That's almost a stipulation that doesn't need to be there if you can lead men. That's the second point I'm making before we move on. Right? That whole thing, well, it needs to be an OC. No, stop moving the goalpost. Don't talk that to me anymore. Dan Campbell, Mike Vrabel, great coaches. They're just great coaches. Okay, or maybe throw great out. Solid coaches. All right, now to this situation. Listen, Ben Johnson. He's right. Proof's in the pudding. It's just obviously because all things being equal, Caleb was Caleb last year, but he wasn't Caleb that we're seeing. He wasn't the Caleb that we're seeing. Right? Chris, yeah, hopefully two will be. You just pick the best coach. Pick the best coach, and at least two of those at least are coaches of color. Pick the best coach. And this is something that goes to leadership as well. Are you going to pick the coach that you feel comfortable with, or are you going to pick the best coach? Are you going to pick the person that you want to play golf with, or who's going to get your team into the playoffs or the Super Bowl? Right? That's a leadership situation. Because I tell you right now, Robert Kraft was not playing no golf with Bill Parcells. They were not going to the country club, and sipping whatever and talking about whatever. Right? Bill Parcells, he came to New England like, yo, this is what we're doing. Get out of my way. Shut the hell up. Excuse my friends. Shut the heck up. Stay out my way. You hear me? That's why we came to New England. No, stay out my way. You do what I say, we're going to win. What did he do? Had him in the Super Bowl. Right? Last time the Patriots in the Super Bowl, dog, on 1986 got mollywopped by the Bears. Big Bill comes to town. Right? One of the first things that he does when he gets here, because that's when Little Bill, as in Belichick, was ousted from Cleveland. We need this guy. Bob Kraft, but we're going to have to go over budget. We need this guy. Go over your budget. What's he going to do? He's going to do something. He ain't going to be the OC, ain't going to be the D's. He's doing something. We need this guy in the building. Do it. Super Bowl. Super Bowl. Right? So, imagine if Robert Kraft had been like, no, that's not how we do things here. Right? That's not how we do. You know what I mean? If he's, I'm the boss, I'm the owner, type of stuff. Right? And this is again, and we're coming back to Ben Johnson, right? This is the Jerry Jones conundrum. As talented a businessman and a marketer and a maestro as he is. Yeah. And with Jerry, we don't even really have the conversation about Jerry Jones and black coaches, which is interesting. Because I don't know if he's never hired a black coach that I can remember. Has Jerry Jones ever hired a black coach? I think the answer is no. We don't necessarily talk about it because in that situation, we just know the coach, after he done got rid of Jimmy, after he, jettisoned Jimmy, it was just clear to everybody you have to you kiss the ring, okay, and stay on that bended knee to be in Dallas. That's what you have to do. That's why they never win. So I think that's a huge component of, when we talk about who deserves an opportunity, who doesn't deserve an opportunity, dirt the coaches, kind of so on and forth. That's a part of it. But long story not so long, and this was on my mind today as well, right? Yeah, as we have these conversations, people have it's right, not for Jerry, but that's a whole. In Dallas, it's just you got to do what It's not about black, white, yellow, green, or orange. It's about kissing that ring. All right, you can be purple. Jerry will hire you if you kiss the ring. But Mr. Jones, we need no. But no. Okay? This has been, other people have probably said this. I mentioned it, the Cowboys were the Patriots in the 90s and 2000s. They could have won 6-7 championships with Jimmy. No doubt about it. Now, hold on. Let me back up. 6-7 is a minute, is a lot. Yeah. GM of Tennessee let go a year ago. Why the heck did you let go of Mike Vrabel? Is all what I have to say about Tennessee. Tennessee burning through coaches. I don't know why they got rid of Mike Vrabel in the first place. Right? We'll talk a little bit about it. Cignetti signed like a 8-year deal with Indiana. He put the word out like, I'm here. I'm staying in Indiana. Don't want to leave Indiana. Going to win in Indiana. So now I know I'm the new hotness. So everybody, when you become that level, right? That's how USC got Lane Kiffin. Excuse me. USC got UFC got Lincoln Riley. Excuse me. They offered him those billionaire privileges. Unlimited access to the private jet. Right? They offered him them Goodell privileges. Billionaires would say, we need, okay, so you can enter our, right? Because a billionaire is not, they don't become billionaires by wanting to have other people be billionaires. Become billionaires by being just no holds barred, everything for me and a little trickle down for you. That's everything for me. You get a trickle down. Right? Not sure. Let's get that. The connecting point for me, though, a couple things when I get a little frazzled, but then I get it right back. Tennessee, like if I have Mike Vrabel here, solid coach, winning coach, there's always going to be, right? Like that's why are you getting rid of Mike Vrabel? And what's your contingency plan? Nothing? See, so that's where I would need clarification. I don't, I'm glad the GM has the job, but that didn't make sense to me. Like right now, the Ravens with Harbaugh, wasn't, from the outside looking in, didn't necessarily, probably thought it should have given it one more year. But the point of fact is the Ravens have a 2-time, MVP on the roster. and said, who's saying like, this is the next second phase of my career. I need a new voice. So you take that gamble. You take that gamble. You could with the Ravens, if Lamar, right? If there's a different voice to, then that could take Lamar's career, to maybe he gets over, this playoff and Super Bowl, in confinement that he's in. The inability to release himself from being on the doorstep of winning and championships, but never opening that door. Okay, like I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, so Matt, Lakers win championships early on with Paul Westhead, and then he and Magic just not seeing eye to eye, which is understandable to a certain extent because Magic Johnson is not a 7 seconds or less point guard. That's true. But then you go from, the guru of Go to Pat Riley, and then you get 4 more championships. So Jerry Buss got that right. Okay. And you think about it, and we I know we'll pull a couple things up. We're going to conclude on the Bears talk. I know we talk a lot about coaches. That's what these teams, right? The Ravens need a Pat Riley to get through to Lamar Jackson. That's what they need. And you can argue that, first of all, Lamar injured this year, and there's certain inconsistencies. And yeah, that's a little bit dicey for me when you think, because 7 seconds or less is not the offense that you run when you have an all-time great player. You don't have to run this go. You run. You can obviously the Showtime the Lakers ran. My point is, like, Michael Jordan is not a 7 second. Michael Jordan is not playing in Mike D'Antoni's system. Okay. Where you just have, where it's just constantly sprinting and trying to just outwork a team. Michael Jordan's playing in a system built around Michael Jordan. Magic Johnson's playing in a system built around Michael Jordan, system built around him. Magic Johnson built, right? You don't, right? Those players are the system. They don't need a system, right? Again, especially, these type of players that they are. 7 seconds or less, when you're just trying to, you're just trying to out effort a team. I'm going to out effort you. Which you would do that because you're not confident that you're more skilled than them. Okay? So back to bringing it back, coaches, opportunities, not opportunities. You gotta, like, if I'm Tennessee, back to, Carthon, I need a guy to coach these guys up, build confidence, so that we can be together, because we're not going to have an overpowering roster. So we have to have overpowering culture. With the Ravens, you have some overpowering talent that needs a voice that's going to galvanize them. Okay? It's going to get through to Lamar in a different way. Get through to Derrick Henry if he stays in a different way. Okay, you don't need somebody to, bring their system that is incompatible with who they already are. Okay. Before we go over to college or some other topics, Mr. Signetti, Mr. Johnson, right? He's crossed that bar. He's crossed that hurdle. He was the offensive guru in Detroit and got Jared Goff, to places we didn't think he could get to. Yep. Called that. Yep, you did. That's curious to me with the Falcons. Obviously, it was a disappointing year. Is it all on Morris? He was. We got to give Penix some time at the same. But how much time do you have when they have these weapons? They got Bijan, they got Kyle Pitts. They got London. Penix knows. So right, Raheem Morris is getting let go. You let him go at a veteran. Who is the guru that they have in mind to come in that's going to unlock? Excuse me. Right? Do they have a Ben Johnson type hire that they're right? To me, these are gambles. But they obviously, hopefully, I mean, you say obviously the Knicks didn't have a plan when they got rid of Tibbs. I keep bringing that up, but they didn't. Think they're going to headhunt Jason Kidd and all these other coaches. They got a good replacement, comparable replacement, different voice, but bad losses for the Falcons. That division is so mid. The Panthers made the playoffs this year. Tampa Bay started off like gangbusters, had injuries. Was that the, unforgivable that in a down division you still couldn't break through? And they you want to say you give a guy another year, but I think that on the other side of that, it's that you had this golden opportunity on a platter for you on a plate, and you didn't even come close to achieving it. So there's some, right? Okay, you lost to the Jets, but then how are you losing to Tampa Bay? These teams are not at 100%. The Saints are trying to lose. I just want. Interesting. All these jobs. I mean, what are you gonna? Is it just retread central? Atlanta, Raheem Morris got to go because you got some birdie told you can get Harbaugh. Bring Harbaugh down there to run the show. All right, that sounds good. I think wherever he goes, that team is gonna be in line for some corrections and improvements. But what if you don't get Harbaugh now? You're just gonna take it. That's my kind of thing. And they didn't know that. Okay, New Orleans coming along, but they're building for next year. They're not trying to do anything this year. The Falcons had expectations for this year. So the beat goes on. The beat goes on. All right, folks, let's look ahead. Let us look ahead. Because we got a ball game coming up. We got meaning a ball game. Got a couple ball games. Bit of a delay. All right. Who out there is for participation trophies? Any participation trophies out there? All right. Chargers, battle tested, coming from the West. Landed the Chiefs and the Broncos. Not so much the Raiders. To the Commonwealth. All right, get the colder environs. Bringing their experience against, this team's upstart youthful energy. All right. What I'm hearing, some of the experienced folks are leaning towards the Chargers. Obviously, I'm rooting for the home team. Jags, Eagles, and Pats. Okay. Look, this is. Let's get it. But I'm. I got to say I'm a bit nervous about this game for the Patriots. Okay. Well, at the same time, I'm saying I'm nervous. This is the opportunity, for Drake May, right? How many regular season MVPs does Peyton Manning have? Who is the pound for pound better player, right? But who is widely considered the better, I'm talking about Manning and Brady. Pound for pound, equal situations, right? If you just put Manning in New England with this, then can he win 6 championships? A lot of people say yes. If you just switch them, is the narrative different? All right. I say all that. Now, Patriots, right? And I'm not saying that what I am saying, that's not what I'm not saying. What I am saying, okay, is this game not destroying the Dolphins, not mollywopping the Jets, not beating a Baltimore Ravens team that's going in 5 different directions. Okay. You lock horns with old Harbaugh in his khaki pants. Okay. In his wily strategies. And you grind out a win in that game, never mind a double-digit win. Now we can start talking Super Bowl. Right? So, yes, I favor the Patriots. Really excited, thrilled for what's going on. Right? Okay? But you're looking at it. Looking at their schedule. Let's go top to bottom. Chiefs, playoff team. Broncos, playoff team. Okay? A lot of teams are down. Colts, nope. Vikings, nope. Titans. Hey, I look at this Chargers schedule. A lot of teams that were down, Raiders down, Giants down, Commanders down, Dolphins down, Colts back and forth with injuries, Titans down, Steelers down. Took a bad loss to the Jags, Raiders down again. Chargers schedule is not as, they play a lot of teams that didn't have it. Okay. So I'm not buying that argument. I say advantage Patriots, but tale of two cities. Okay, pressure's on the Pats. Harbaugh looking to steal this one, and steal, the thunder that this team is built. They need this win. Obviously, both teams need it. Harbaugh's been there, and people like both teams need a breakthrough. But for the Patriots, it's not. It's just to justify because this year got wild. Talking about Drake May for MVP, which he still could get. Who came into the year thinking Drake May was going to I don't. People doubted he could be MVP of the Patriots after last year's disaster. Never mind MVP of the NFL. So the expectations for this team through the roof from where it started. Whereas the Chargers come into the season with expectations that they have, for the most part, lived up to. Right? They could have been in the position, they could have led or gotten this to the second seed or, but again, they're, the Patriots have the Bills to contend with in their division, and the Chargers have the Broncos, right, and the Chiefs before the Chiefs fell off. Advantage Patriots in a close one. Okay. Niners at Eagles, going to be a good one. Bills heading on the road. It's tough. I say, I tell you, I'm my people in Buffalo. Is this reverse home field advantage? Bills having to go to warmer environs. Let's get them up there on the screen. See what we can do here. Let's see this one. All right, we got it. And let's keep on moving and grooving here. In the free world. Bam. Raining like cats and dogs in the Commonwealth. I think Jacksonville's just happy to be there. Obviously, no team, it's simplistic. The Bills need this game more than the Jaguars. Jaguars, hey, they got the home field advantage. They have but for the Jaguars to make the playoffs after years and years of not, whereas the Bills, similar to the Ravens, are looking kind of Dunsky if it doesn't go their way this season. Now, okay, they're still going to be a good team and competitive team. That's Dunsky is, shout out to Donnie Brasco, lefty, calling me a Dunsky. right? Ravens don't make the playoffs. Bills theoretically go out of the playoffs in the first round. What happened to our preseason predictions? Right? The year that wasn't. Didn't come to fruition for the Bills. I mean, it's just amazing. All right, got to go defense. Got to go defense without Travis Hunter. All right. So here's the thing, right? What are you going to do? Bring back Mike Dable? Brian Dable, excuse me? Think about the Bills. I keep bringing up, right? They're going into the brand new arena. Never mind having been on the doorstep all these years. Okay? Letting Diggs go. Less is more. Take a look here. Let's get this up here for you on the screen. I like Sean McDermott. Yeah. So it's not working. Let's fire. I just don't like. What are you going to do? Who's the next coach that's going to bring in that's going to do a better job than Sean McDermott? Right. I feel like a couple years back they brought in Von Miller and right when they had to pay the Chiefs on the ropes. That seems to be as close as they've gotten. Then next thing you know, Joe Burrow goes into Buffalo and takes another season away from them. So who was the replacement after you let Diggs go? It worked for the 1 year. So Brady, Mr. Special Teams, Mr. Patriots offensive coordinator. All right. A new voice, but a similar culture. Hey. It's funny, tides have turned in both of these matchups. If you were to tell anybody at the beginning of the season that the Patriots and the Chargers were going to play in the playoff, okay, of course that game's going to be in LA, and the Patriots, are just happy to be there, breaking through after, being awful. Same thing. Bills and of course the game's going to be in Buffalo, Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence, can he right the ship? Well, we're looking at the reverse. The two teams that were favorites to start the season are the road underdogs. And do we give them the edge as road underdogs with the desperation, or do you go with the team that's been better? What did Bill Parcells say? Bill Parcells say, you are what your record says you are. So pay. Yeah. Right. It just doesn't seem to be the Bills' year. Right. Did it seem to be the Packers' year when they went into Dallas and knocked them out? Did it seem to be the Commanders' year last year when they went to Detroit and knocked them out? So, I get you are what your record says you are. But these two teams, they're dangerous. That's not even, what I mean, they're dangerous. You know, they see the writing on the wall. They meaning the Bills. Chargers still have one more year before people are starting to look around like, what the heck are you doing? Like, where is this going? But the Bills, writing's on the wall. They got to get some kind of momentum, something building this playoffs, or they're just an afterthought. Never mind whether they keep McDermott, they're just an afterthought. Giants can keep Daboll, but they're, you traded Saquon and the Eagles won a championship. So you're not taken seriously anymore. Nope. You're still around, but can't put respect on your name. You're just, part of the show. You're not a leading anything. You're just, around. So that's where I see it going. So I think the Patriots and I think the Jaguars, they're also well aware that they don't want to be the one-hit wonder. And, so they're coming in this game desperate as well. Two desperate teams, and one is just better than the other. But, hey, it's going to be a good one. It's an understatement. And to conclude, my Eagles, man. My Eagles. The Niners, man. Shout out to home field advantage. Shout out to, right? Because that's what, I'm concerned. But can't see what the heck's going on. Let's come back to the sharing is the caring. To me, the Niners have been trending in the right direction, more so than the Eagles. The Eagles have just been good, not so good. Back and forth, back and forth. They were gifted their division, like some other teams, right? Commanders, Giants, right? Trying to get into the Mendoza or whoever sweepstakes. Cowboys are the Cowboys, so they're just gifted the division. Unlike the Steelers, they didn't, try to cough that up. Maybe some people say, but they didn't. Right, so you're gifted the division, and then, that affords you. So they've just been failing up. Not that to win the division but certainly having lost a step from last year's Super Bowl pace. Talking to a friend that has coached football, and that was his. I'm watching the game. Okay, so they're behind, but Seattle's a good team. He's like, no, like he said, the Niners, they weren't tackling. They looked undisciplined, which you don't always ascribe to a Kyle Shanahan team. They just didn't look good. Period. It's the feedback that I was getting from the football folk. It just wasn't about it. It wasn't right. Never mind losing to a good, you can lose to a good team. Strength versus strength. So, man. You know, you got to go. Go Eagles, right? Reset the narrative, reshape the narrative, put yourself back in the Super Bowl conversation. The Rams are waiting, right? Bears are out there in the mix. And it's just I got to say fly, Eagles fly. But the drama during the season, the lack of, continuity, enthusiasm, energy. I'm feeling like they're ripe for, right? So I'm looking at these games, right? It was I don't see, right? Houston's in Pittsburgh on Monday night. Pittsburgh essentially having 2 playoff games back to back to get into the playoffs, and now, so they might be wary. Chance for Houston, right? Jags and Patriots, new kids on the block. Chargers and Bills. Teams with a little bit more seasoning that they got to show up or get the stepping. I like the Eagles, Jags, and Patriots of the same mind there. All right, folks. We're going to move over to the slice of life. That's going on right now. Get this slice of life cracking. Yes, sir. All right. You know what? I haven't. I'm saving that. We got a lot of basketball stuff. We haven't talked too much basketball. Let's see if we have any football stuff. There we go. There we go. Yeah. I just think, Steelers, like last week was their playoffs. That was to get in and how it went down, and so. But the man himself.
If Manette and I love Indiana University, Bloomington, the state of Indiana, the people we've met. We have very strong feelings about President Whitten and Scott Dolson. And, we've accomplished a lot here in a short amount of time, but still have a lot of work to do. So I couldn't be more proud to be a Hoosier, and I plan on retiring as a Hoosier. And the way that this state has embraced us and our success in football has meant more to me than anything else. So I just wanted to get on camera and let you know that Kurt Signetti is going to work daily to make Indiana the best they can be. My wife, Manette, and I love Indiana University, Bloomington, the state of Indiana, the people with
we're running
very
back.
strong feelings about President Whitten and Scott Dolson. And we've accomplished a lot here in a short amount of time, but still have a lot of work to do. So I couldn't be more proud to be a Hoosier, and I plan on retiring as a Hoosier. And the way that this state has embraced us and our success in football has meant more to me than anything else. So I just wanted to get on camera and let you know that Kurt Signetti is going to work daily to make Indiana the best they can be. My wife.
Yes, sir. Yep. Enough said right there. There go the man. Kind of got the stare.
I love Indiana University, Bloomington, the state of Indiana, the people we've met. We have very strong feelings about President Whitten and Scott Dolson.
Yep. Hey. Reminds me of, Brad Stevens, 2 championships in a row at a mid-major. Butler signs an extension at Butler. I'm staying at Butler. Okay, always making it clear this is where I'm staying. Then, Brad Stevens comes with the Godfather offer. He ends up going to the Celtics, but I'm staying with the people that held me down. And that's how it's going to go. So yet another reason to cheer for Signetti. And that's where we're going to leave this episode a little bit later on the East Coast. Okay, try to get in a little bit sooner, but hey, it is what it is. Thank you, folks. SandCity, go.